Greetings in the divine name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I the First, King Alpha, I Divine Mother Empress Menen Queen Omega, and I the children of Jah Rastafari, representing for the Ankh Nation family, popularly known as Africa. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Jah. Yes, ones and ones, give thanks again for lending ear, so I can articulate Rastafari. Now, this word sound is in relation to a previous recording I make. And it's called ADOS and FBA Expose. And I think I published that one there, April 22nd, 2025. Whites are fearful of becoming a minority in America. They cannot afford to lose America, a land they established through genocidal acts. This explains the role of ADOS and FBA activism against immigrants. With their tethers narratives, they are protecting their masters' interests masked behind Black American political agendas. That is why they target Pan-Africanism and calling immigrant tethers. Classic divide and rule. We saw this played out in the 2024 presidential race between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. All the YouTube plans in black skin were busy executing mass exploit, neutralizing the Latino population with their anti-immigrant narrative. Caribbean and African people are casualties in their divide and rule expediency for their master, while pretending they are defending Black American lineage. Look, 2045 is about 15 years away, yet they are strategically taking measures to curtail the Latino population from surpassing them. Yeah, so now currently we see mass deportation efforts are going on under the Donald Trump regime. And like I said, this is a strategic move to curtail the growth of the Latino population. Even though Caribbean people and African people get caught up in it, it's really about curtailing the Latino, because that it is now in America, the Latino are the second largest ethnic group. And if they project by 2045, Latino will be the majority. You think white America can sit back and allow this to happen? Knowing the murder, rape, and plunder where them execute to attain white supremacy in America. So this is a part of what FBA I represent right now for white supremacy, protecting white supremacy. And at the same time playing by your emotions and manipulating it behind Black American lineage. And in it, I declare and make certain sounds in relation to Trump and recent immigration position. I see a thing manifest or correlates to it. And being that I say, and I'm going to play the video too, but being that I did indicate in another video, they say, I fear the Latino community, because projected according to them, Pew Research are the think tanks. Pew Research are one of them. By 2045, the Latino supposed to be the major ethnic in America. Now, with that being said, I come across some information where it's pertinent to the word sound. And like I said, this is what that song is about. And when Trump first came in office in 2017, he issued an executive order. And the executive order was this is 2017, 13769 on January 27, 2017. And this was when suspend refugee status. And then he went on again and extend it again for maintain the same refugee, the ban on refugee, and extend it again for maintain the same refugee, the ban on refugee, And then one of them called 13780, March 6, 2017. And that was about suspending the refugee status. Now in 2025, January 2025, start of Trump's second term, he issued executive order titled realigning the United States Refugee Admission Program. And this are extended from 2017. And this, like we say, continues suspend the refugee program until further notice. Now, despite having all these things, the suspension, May 2025, we see we grant refugee status to 59 South Africans.
Today, nearly 60 white South Africans were admitted into the United States. It's part of President Donald Trump's resettlement program for white Afrikaners, largely descendants of Dutch and French colonial settlers in South Africa. Afrikaners also led the racist apartheid government there until it ended in 1994. Today, the White House alleges that a new South African law, which redistributes unused land to the state, is racist, and that the white minority is being persecuted by the black-led government. President Trump even halted all aid to South Africa back in February. Applications from these white families were fast-tracked by the administration, even as it suspended the U.S. refugee resettlement program, leaving thousands of approved refugees worldwide stranded. Joining us now is Bill Freilich, the head of the Refugee and Migrant Rights Division at Human Rights Watch. Bill, welcome to the News Hour.
Good to be here.
So President Trump was asked about the classification of these families as refugees. Here's what he had to say about conditions in South Africa.
It's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place, and farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me, but white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa.
White farmers being brutally killed, their land being confiscated. What do you make of these allegations of white genocide, as the president has said, as we know Elon Musk has said before, and the classification of these families as refugees?
Well, this is not factually supported from any of the information that we've seen. The expropriation law that you mentioned only came into effect in January, and it is stated that it is for non-compensation for private land that would go into public hands if that land has been unused, if there's nobody living and working on that land or developing it. And so far, of course, none of that land has actually been taken. So there have been homicide rates that are high rates in South Africa. I think it was like 13,000 in 2023, but only single digits were farmers that were killed. Now, you don't want anyone to be killed, and I don't want to disparage any one person's story, but we don't have the phenomenon of people fleeing the country as we do with refugees all over the world. About 38 million refugees in the world who, by definition, are people who've crossed an international border because they're fleeing persecution, they're fleeing war, they're fleeing conflict. And there are no Afrikaner refugee camps. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees didn't refer any South Africans of any background, of any race, of any language for resettlement in the last year. So this is something really new and different from anything we've seen.
And the families who arrived today were approved in a few months' time. We understand they're flown over on a State Department chartered flight. Is that the usual process for refugee resettlement?
No, I mean, you often have refugees that have spent years and years in refugee camps. And then, out of the millions of refugees in the world, less than 1% are ever even referred for third country resettlement. They have exhaustive vetting, security screening, health screening, screening to make sure that they actually do have a well-founded fear of being persecuted, and they usually are people that have great difficulties in the country of first asylum. They're people that have difficulties in the refugee camps in which they're living. Maybe they're being persecuted in the country of first arrival as well. So these are circumstances that you would assess on a case-by-case basis, and that takes a long period of time to do. This was done in 3 months, And these are people that came directly from their country of origin. They were not people that were living in refugee camps. They were not people that were vetted by the UN Refugee Agency or referred to the United States in the normal way. And they were flown here in chartered planes paid for directly by the US. Usually it's the International Organization for Migration that does travel loans that refugees are expected to pay back actually upon arrival.
As we speak, we know the Trump administration has ended deportation protections for a number of countries. People from Afghanistan, Haiti, Sudan, the refugee resettlement program, as we noted, has been halted. It's very difficult to ignore the racial dynamics here. White South Africans have been allowed in while people from majority black and brown countries have been kept out. What do you see when you look at these policies?
Clearly there's a racial twist here. When you see, again, going in the first Trump administration, where he described Haitians as coming from four-letter word countries, that he said he wanted people that looked like Norwegians to come to the United States. And in 2018, long before the Russians had invaded Ukraine, under the first Trump administration, the group that he chose to increase the refugee numbers were Ukrainians, while there was a dramatic decrease, slashing of refugee numbers in Africa, in the Middle East, and in the rest of the world. And so now we've seen a complete closing of the door, a total suspension of the refugee resettlement program for all refugees everywhere. And then 18 days later, another executive order that privileges only white South Africans.
Bill Fralick from Human Rights Watch, thank you for being here. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
White South Africans, to be exact. And the argument when them I use, them claim say, racial persecution in South Africa, and basically racial persecution, and them I get killed, genocide, white genocide, and this are the argument them present, but at the end of the day, it is unfounded. This is an argument from Elon Musk, and Trump perpetrated, and therefore them grant these immigrants, Afrikaners, white immigrants, status, fast track them towards citizenship in America. Not only that, the Ukraine war too, we see where them grant asylum or refugee status to the Ukrainians them. And this also is contrary to them, the refugees. Now, we see where them again, the white South Africans and the Ukrainian them, which is white again, refugee status. But yet still, them ban the Latino and all other diaspora black or people of color. Them deny them refugee status, but them grant the white people them, and even the Palestinian them too. Now, me mention says fear. White and mainstream America is fearful of becoming the minority. So all of these white people that never grant them status is really about boost up the white population. And the census at 2045, the Latino them supposed to exceed and becomes the majority in America, majority ethnic group. So now we see all of these Trump becomes ardent on immigration status for Latinos or black people, but yet them free-handed when it comes to white people. And this is to correlate what I and I say in the video when we mentioned. Whites are fearful of becoming a minority in America. They cannot afford to lose America, a land they established through genocidal acts. This explains the role of ADOS and FBA activism against immigrants with their tethers narratives they are protecting their master's interests, mass behind Black American political agendas. That is why they target Pan-Africanism and calling immigrant debtors. Classic divide and rule. We saw this played out in the 2024 presidential race between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. All the YouTube plans in black skin were busy executing mass plan, neutralizing the Latino population with their anti-immigrant narrative. Caribbean and African people are casualties in their divide and rule expediency for their master while pretending they are defending Black American lineage. Look, 2045 is about 15 years away, yet they are strategically taking measures to curtail the Latino population from surpassing them. Yeah, so now currently we see mass deportation efforts are going on at the Donald Trump regime. And like I said, this is a strategic move to curtail the growth of the Latino population. Even though Caribbean people and African people get caught up in it, it's really about curtailing the Latino because that it is now. In America, the Latino are the second largest ethnic group. And if they project by 2045, Latino will be the majority. You think white America can sit back and allow this to happen? Knowing the murder, rape, and plunder where them execute to attain white supremacy in America. So this is a part of what FBA I represent right now for white supremacy, protecting white supremacy. And at the same time playing by your emotions and manipulating it behind Black American lineage. Exposing FBA and ADOS. So once again, it's all about them saying racism don't exist. But yet it is clear and sure against wherein white privilege would always be extended to white people. But when it comes to immigrants from the Caribbean or South America, Latin America, you will be denied. And in the said process, Trump him again too, with this racist position. Him call the Asian them and other non-white country, shithole country or shithouse country. Either one of them two terminology him use. Now, what the reason why me I highlight these things? Now, why the Afrikaners, as what them call the white South Africans, are granted the privilege of coming to America when Trump have executive order will suspend refugee status. Now, the reason why, when you organize, now Elon Musk and the billionaire South Africans are finance Donald Trump. And when I say billionaire South Africans, we are talking about Peter Thiel and David Sachs along with Elon Musk. And they have the Mitchell, Leroux, Gary Lobner, Martin Marshall, Robert Gummead, Mick Beasy, Jonas, and Nathan Kirsch. All of these are billionaire South Africans. And now, them a draw card say, Afrikaners are get persecuted in South Africa, which is unfounded because them don't have no statistics to substantiate that. The South African government reject it. Both the government and the courts reject that. Most people that died in South Africa, yeah, you have farm violence against the farmers. But about maybe 6,000 South Africans dead, and out of the 6,000, maybe 12 are white farmers. But yet, Elon Musk make Donald Trump perpetuate or a trumpeter say white South Africans are get murdered, genocide as them, but white genocide as them claim. and they are granted refugee status. Now, is an example and a lesson for sure. I and I as Rastafari, black people in general say, we will never get anything done until we are organized. Organized and centralized, especially for the Rastafari community where the king highlight and tell I and I say, the elders them say, organized and centralization is the way forward. And this, may I use this as a lesson again, I show you. Say, in America, even though them suspend refugee status, them still grant white South Africaners and Ukrainians refugee status. About 200 and something thousand Ukraine get refugee status or asylum in America, along with the 59 recently arrived South Africans in America. And them already have place for them already too. So that's for sure you say the billionaire South Africans like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and David Sachs and the rest of them, their money I work for them. And when you use your money can influence government policies. And this is a clear example where you see these billionaires, especially Elon Musk, to the point where it appears like him run the presidency of America. And this is the power organization. It's the same thing in 1917. The international Zionist movement do in England to get the Balfour Declaration, wherein the Israelis are now in controlling Palestine. When them rename it in 1940, them declare Israel independence and state of Israel was born under the leadership of Ben Gurion. These people, wherever they are, they make their money work for them. And this comes through organization. And this is something the Rastafari community have to implement and take serious. Individuality not going anywhere. It's organization. And like I say again, I mentioned the video in our previous video, and this come for support. For sure, say I and I, mainstream America will not allow themselves to become a minority. And this is why they readily accept all white people, no matter where them come from. They will grant them, even when them suspend refugee status, it will always be granted to white people. South African, as the 59 South African just coming on me. And from 2022, since Russia and Ukraine in a war, the Ukrainians might get privilege through whiteness, granted refugee status in America. So when I and I, for the Rastafari community and for black people in general, when are we going to wake up to this reality and recognize, organize, and centralize is the way forward? The white South Africans, them know, them never use a gun, them never protest, them never do none of that, you know. Them billionaire people, where you call Elon Musk and David Sachs and Peter Thiel and them work behind the scene lobbying government officials to get what they want. And in the same process, them invest their money in America. Because all of these ones will come, they are farmers. And there's no way these farmers are get persecuted in South Africa when them about 8% of the population and control at least 80% of the arable farmland in South Africa. And the black people who have 80% of the people, them about 4% them control. 4 to 10%. And the South African government own 25% of all lands. Make that sink in for a second. The minority who estimate about 8% of the population control 80% of the land, arable farmland, and the majority was 80% black people only control 4 to 10%. arable farmlands or private farmlands. And now all of this now, the reason why Trump and Elon Musk like them get vexed now because the South African government passed laws now for the Expropriation Act, where now land where them white people are not using, the South African government are take it back. And this are where them are ball out now. The Afrikaners now, with Elon Musk, a lobby in America now, a ball say, they might get persecuted and racially persecuted and white genocide when nothing is off the side. It's unfounded. But nonetheless, it happened. Because why? The billionaire South Africans make their money work for them. They are organized. And this is when organization they get things done. So this is my word sound to the Rastafari community. It's time to organize and centralize. And this is how we are going to get moving as a people. Overall now for black people. And we know that it going to come with challenges because anytime black people try to do nothing in the collective, especially in America, and even Jamaica too, the state come in and racism show a act through the state and destroy. We have Pinnacle in Jamaica, Bakawal, when them destroy that and claims a redevelopment. These are, and in America, you have the Black Wall Street, the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre, you have Rosewood, and many, many more. These people destroy these communities. And the only reason why these things happen is because, again, we are not organized. And we not pool the resources together. Because anytime you organize and centralize, enough of the things that will happen to us as a people have to stop. Self-reliance, collective security, as the great Marcus Garvey instilled in I and I. These principles are still valid only if we implement them. And this is for the Rastafari community. Most in observation, I say most are UNO, especially the ones that will get more to Rastafari, which is the entertainers, the musicians, them. They are more individualized than collective. They have not given back. Them now build. Is everything they are building is for self. Where's the collective development? Where's I infrastructure as Rastafari people? We have nothing. But yet we have everything, because Rastafari is everything. But the problem is visionaries. We lack visionaries as leadership. And we now organize and pool the resources together. And this have to change if we want to becomes who we are and as God intended us to be as creators, creating and becoming sovereign people, sovereign thinking, sovereign mind. Rastafari, dip on the battlefield, I fight the struggle for your mind. Because when I dip on this article, Rastafari is about your mind. For decolonize your mind, for show you, say, yo, you don't need nothing other than us. We don't need them. History already, historical observation already show I said most of the things them were built and they built upon the shoulders. The intellect, the genius of black people, the creativity of black people. So why are we afraid to organize and centralize as the great Marcus showed us before again black skin traitors destroy the UNIA? At full time now, recognize, organize, and centralize and pool the resources and moving forward with one mindset. And like me say, Rastafari is the way. We have to galvanize and organize because Rastafari is viable and move forward. You know? And again, case in point again, I tell you now, mainstream America 2045, them project Hispanic for overtake them or becomes the majority in America. And you see, Trump, no where Trump is here for. Trump is here to deport people of color, that is Caribbean and Latino people, and in the same process, replenish the mainstream American population with white people, white refugees, to strengthen them up, to prevent 2045 from happening with the Latino. And that go on. So those who have eyes to see will see, and those who have ears to hear will hear. And this is why I put it out there. Because I now get blinded by all of the other things that they want to distract you. And this again, where I have to become strategic and plan ahead. Because this is where Trump and the white mainstream America do, including Trump as the face of the presidency of America, protecting white supremacy. Them plan ahead. This is why them have them think tank. Rastafari I think tank. This is why I depend this piece. I articulate Rastafari and I show the viability of Rastafari and I show the things them that is to come. If we don't get it together, we have to become one mindset, organize and centralize and start do for self and start being strategic and thinking ahead and start being reactionaries. Because this is why we always come up short, because we always react to what them do. We are not being strategic in protecting our collective security. We have to be strategic about our security. And I see how them work. They make their money work for them. See, Elon Musk do it. In 1917, the Jewish community do it. With the Rothschilds and all these Chaim Weizmann and all these people. This is what they do. Them make their money work in the country where them depend. The government use their money for influence policies for them. See, come back now, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, David Sachs and all the rest of them. They make their money work for influence Trump to get the Afrikaners now for come. And by extension, now deprive. Because where them are to come do now, are the farmland them come from, in America, Because in a minute they are going to control the food security. Because them already recognize, in a minute in South Africa, them have to lift up from out of South Africa with ones like Julius Malema. The way him think revolutionary, but the other ones gonna come that now go compromise. And they might make preparation. And this is why these ones now are fly coming to America to make the preparation for when the attack laps come. Because it's coming. Remember, me just tell you, they are 8% that control 80% of the farmland in South Africa. And the people them that is majority 80% or control 4 to 10% of the land. You think so the 80% are going to continue accepting that? And no leaders in South Africa, especially now that the youth named Ibrahim Traoré show them what it means to take control and become sovereign again. This is where the youth becomes an example. And that's why they might try to destroy him too. Because they don't want us to have any example. But in a minute, like I said, when we becomes one sovereign, one mindset, all of us will become Ibrahim Traoré. There come a time when you can't buy we. But it have to come revolute the mind first. One mindset. You have to revolute your mind first. Sovereignty of your mind. Reclaim that back. Decolonization of your mind. So them can trick you and play black skin traitors against the collective, because we will know who they are just by they don't act like us. But we have to have one mindset. And if you act otherwise, it's easy to identify you. This is the position and this is the steps we have to take for a brighter tomorrow. But everywhere in the world, England, America, France, Europe in general, Africa, Caribbean, we all have to become one mindset. And this is what Rastafari are bringing to the table. And Rastafari is I and I one. So if we build it and become visionaries and becomes again embodying that collective security mindset that Marcus Garvey instilled under the banner of the UNIA. Rastafari embody all of that. Rastafari is UNIA, you know. Rastafari is Black Power. Rastafari is Pan-Africa. All of that under the banner of Rastafari. Because Rastafari absorb all of that. One mindset. One people. One aim. One God. One destiny. And that's how we're for there. Until such time you don't know again. Jah Rastafari without apology. Sealer.